Coming up, he helped save 197 lives on an American flight, but it's gotten him absolutely nothing from America. She turned her back on the American flag. It's an act that's impossible to ignore. Plus, Jim Harrick is only one firestorm in college basketball. This is Angles on MSG. On the night of December 22nd, 2001, American Airlines Flight 63 was headed from Paris to Miami. It had to be detoured to Boston after Richard Reed, a.k.a. the Shoe Bomber, was wrestled to the ground aboard that flight and prevented from blowing up the plane. Hi, everybody. I'm Al Troutwig. This is obviously not your normal sports show. This is Kwame James. This is his attorney, Michael Wilds. And in a nutshell, Kwame James was one of those who tackled Richard Reed to the floor of the aircraft, preventing the aircraft from being destroyed, saving the lives of all of those on board, and now is trying to catch on and play basketball in the United States. He's a Canadian citizen and may, because of immigration and naturalization laws, be forced to leave the country instead of being treated like the hero so many people think he is. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Before we get to all the legal stuff, first, I'd like to be on that plane. I really don't, but I'd like to know what the experience was like for you. You're 10 rows in front of Richard Reed. What happens?
I was asleep. You know, they had just served the meal, ate a meal, just fell asleep because it's a pretty long flight. So then next thing you know, I was awakened by the screams of a girl to the left and right of me, you know, and I thought something initially was wrong with her. And, you know, I could tell, I was like, what's wrong? And I could see that her attention was to the back of the plane, and everybody's attention was to the back of the plane. So I got up and I was looking to the back of the plane, and I could see a scuffle going on with Richard Reed and like one other guy. So I'm thinking initially I thought it was a fight on the plane or a guy was having a seizure, but then a flight attendant approached me.
Because you're a big guy, you're 6'8".
Right, and she was like, we need your help. And I had a moment of doubt, kind of like, you know, is this something I want to get into? But she was like, no, we really need your help. And I could see in her eyes that it was just something really serious. So I got out of my seat and I ran back to where he was. And by this time, about two other guys had jumped up and they were hitting on him. So we kind of wrestled him down in between the seats. And the idea came up to let's tie him up. And at this point, I really didn't understand what was fully going on, but we were tying him up. And then somebody said, you know, he was trying to blow up the plane. And you could smell the sulfur in the air, and that just adds such a tense moment to the moment. It was just crazy.
Now, this is obviously after September 11th. Everybody's a little freaky to begin with. Then what happened? You wrestle him down, you tie him up.
Yeah, we tie him up in the flight attendants, and one pilot who was in first class came back and started taking command of the situation and took his shoes away. After that, I didn't really see, I got a glimpse of the shoe. And we just tied him up, and the plane went into security mode. You know, no one could get out of their seats without permission and stuff. But keep in mind, on September 11th, most of the planes had 3 or 4 guys on it. So that was our initial thought, like, you know, this may not be the only person. So we just had to kind of take everybody as a suspect and just operate like that.
So now the pilot tells you to stand over him for what amounted to a 3-hour flight to Boston.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was very tense. It was like your whole life flashes in front of you. I'm thinking, at the time I was 23, I'm thinking, you know, am I going to make it, you know, home or just to see my family, or did I do all the things right in my life if I die at this moment and stuff? And keep in mind, he was pretty arrogant about the whole situation too. Even after being tied up and stuff, he was saying things, you know.
He kept saying, you'll see, you'll see.
Yeah, I asked him, I was like, you know, look, I'm just a basketball player. I'm going home. I have nothing against you, Muslims, or any person on this earth. And I was like, why are you trying to blow up the plane? Or are you really trying to blow up the plane? And he calmly, kind of arrogantly said, you'll see. And that just, you know, sent chills down my spine.
What happens to you when you see video of him?
I still get that chill. Like, it's hard to believe it really happened to me, and then that I was that directly involved. So it kind of smacks you back into the real world, like, wow, you know, this is the world we live in now, and I was actually directly affected by something like that.
What was the direct reaction when the plane landed and he's taken away? Now, what happens to you?
We were
people hugging you and thanking you?
Well, initially we were separated. I wasn't with the general population of the flight. I was taken with the flight attendants and the 2 other guys that had helped out, and we were interrogated separately from the rest of the flight. So yeah, the flight attendants and stuff definitely came up and shook my hand, and we had a couple hours to sit down and just, you know, be interrogated. So we all got to know each other through that period and just hugged each other, and we're grateful to be alive.
And I would imagine like CNN and whoever else wanted to talk to you about what happened, right?
Well, initially I didn't understand the magnitude of what happened. You know, everybody around me did, and obviously I never dealt with the media prior to that, to this magnitude. And you know, I finally made it to Miami, but my obviously I missed my connection, so I stayed in Miami that night. And the hotel phone was just ringing off the hook. I had to tell them, like, look, don't give me any phone calls and stuff. And finally, you know, it's the media. They find you. And finally, I woke up the next morning to get breakfast in the airport, and sure enough, they came running after me. And I did one, and the whirlwind of media came after that.
So you did do a lot of interviews?
I just did one that day with CNN, and then MSNBC convinced me that I needed to, you know, tell my story and stuff, that how it was a positive story, even though it could have been very negative, but people were touched by, finally, you know, our whole plane didn't die. You know, we survived it.
Did you feel like a hero?
No, not really, not at the time.
You must have known you did something great.
Eventually it soaked in, but I think my mind frame was just a bit rattled from the whole situation and what he was saying, and it was kind of hard to believe that it actually happened. So, you know, just dealing with the media and stuff, it was just kind of nothing seemed real at the time.
All right, let's go now to where is basketball in your life at this point?
I've had a series of trials. I went to at
that time in your life.
At that time, I was playing for France. Professional basketball team. It's called Bondy in the outskirts of Paris, and I was doing fine. I was having a good season. The team wasn't doing too good, but I was happy where my career was. Then after the Richard Reed incident, I tried to return to the team in Paris, and it was just a lot of pressure, and a lot of other things happened that I decided to just, you know, that it wasn't the right situation for me.
Well, it's where Reed came from, right?
Yeah.
So now you come to the United States, and what's the government telling you about your role in the trial of Richard Reed?
They were telling me that I would be a prospective witness and stuff like that. So, you know, just to sit tight, and they would ask me where would I be. You know, not necessarily. They said, you know, it would be good if I stayed close and stuff. So I said no problem, because I was thinking I'm gonna try to make it to a minor league team, a CBA team, or NBDL team.
What are they telling you about your ability to stay in the United States?
Well, at the time, that wasn't mentioned till the summer. Of last year, when I told him that, you know, look, it's been a couple months, I've been here, and, you know, right now I can't support myself, that I'll probably leave to go back home, you know, just leave the country, because I can't support myself because I'm not allowed to work without a work permit. So I was then told, well, the trial is coming up, and we can get you a work permit through a witness, or in being a witness for the trial.
So now Richard Reed pleads guilty, meaning there is no trial, there are no witnesses, you're not needed. You try out for a CBA team and get cut.
Right.
At that point, what's your future in the United States?
Not looking good, because at this time I haven't played basketball consistently in months, and I need to be financially able to support myself and still be able to try out for these teams. So it was just looking bleak at the time, and I had no options, and there was no work permit for me.
And when you heard this story, Mr. Wiles, you decided to get involved for free.
MSNBC had called my office and asked what I thought of the matter, and I said, like most of America would say when they hear the story for the first time, where is he? Can I hug him? Can I represent him? Can I do something to thank this gentleman for rising to the occasion and saving my sisters and brothers on that plane? No different than Jeremy Glick or Todd Beamer. This man rose to the occasion.
And yet this is a cause that needs to be championed, and that's what Mr. Wiles is doing. We're going to take a break on Angles and come back and hear about the mission to allow Kwame James to stay in the United States for as long as he wants. This is Angles on MSG. We're back on Angles with our very special guest, Kwame James, an aspiring basketball player who helped save American Airlines Flight 63 from the shoe bomber Richard Reed, with his attorney, Michael Wiles. Michael, what is his status right now as far as being in this country? How long can it last?
Kwame is a visitor to the United States. He's a Canadian national that has the right to be here for a 6-month period of time, despite the fact that assurances were made by the Justice Department during the whole ordeal that they would, in fact, not only give him an authority to work, a generic authority to work through different employers, but that he would have no problem remaining in the United States.
I was shocked, I think, that he got nothing out of this. There was no real reward. He got some miles from American Airlines. And what does that do now for his status? Because he can't work, right?
Well, clearly Kwame is a hero who did this for God, for country, and for cause, not for any financial remuneration. He's still looking for that one dream, that basketball team that will call upon him, or even an employer. This gentleman has a bachelor's degree and can be sponsored part-time or full-time by any international organization.